The icy surface of Nix 4 stretched endlessly, a white desert under a pale sun. The mining colony had been carved out of the frozen plains decades ago, its metallic structures glittering like tiny specks on a vast, frozen ocean. Major Kira Hale stood at the observation platform, her coat flapping in the bitter wind, staring at the distant horizon where an unmarked ridge broke the monotony. She had been stationed here only a few weeks, but something about the colony felt uneasy. The miners had discovered something unusual that morning, a lattice beacon buried under layers of ice. It was small, barely a meter tall, but when they activated it, the device emitted a low hum and a sequence of glowing coordinates. Kira watched the light flicker, a strange pattern pulsing across the beacon's surface. Dr. Aaron Voss, the colony's xenogeologist, bent closer to inspect it. "This isn't just a signal," he murmured. "It's a warning," Kira frowned. "A warning? From who?" Aaron shook his head. "I don't know. The design doesn't match any human technology I've seen. And the message, it's cryptic. It says only, 'Prepare. The dragons are coming.'" Kira blinked. Dragons. The word sounded mythical, almost like a story told to children. She tried to laugh it off, but the knot in her stomach tightened. This colony had survived harsh weather, equipment failures, and pirate raids, but something about this felt different. Something ancient. Before anyone could react, the colony's sensors picked up movement beyond the ice ridge. A convoy of scavenger ships had gone to investigate the coordinates. At first, everything seemed normal, but then the first transmission came in. A panicked voice reporting strange energy fluctuations. Within minutes, all contact ceased. The wreckage later revealed silhouettes of enormous shapes, wing-like shadows gliding above the surface, and strange burn marks that didn't match any known weapon. Kira's jaw tightened. This was no accident. Something powerful had awakened, and it was watching humanity. At the Colony Command Center, Commander Leon Okoye paced behind a table filled with holographic maps. She was a woman of few words, calm but stern, and Kira had learned to respect her judgment. "We can't just wait," Leon said. "If whatever this is comes for us, we need to be ready. Full fleet mobilization, defensive shields, and contingency plans for civilian evacuation." "No hesitation," Kira shook her head. "Rushing in without understanding it could make things worse. This isn't a normal attack. It's selective. Look at the wreckage. They didn't destroy everything. They left some ships intact, untouched. They're testing us," Leon frowned. "Testing or not, we don't have the luxury of time. Colonists are scared. We need action." Aaron intervened, holding a tablet with decoded sequences from the beacon. "The patterns aren't random. They correspond to energy pulses that can interfere with technology. Whoever, or whatever, left this beacon is trying to communicate something. I think we can learn from it instead of fighting blindly." Kira felt a spark of hope. If they could understand the patterns, maybe they could predict the next attack. Maybe they could survive. Over the next few days, the colony worked tirelessly. Kira led a small team to retrofit an old cargo hull into a stealth survey vessel. They patched the hull with reflective alloys and embedded sensors to monitor energy fields. Aaron spent hours decoding the beacon's messages, identifying sequences that suggested the presence of ancient mechanisms buried beneath the ice. The more they learned, the stranger the discovery became. The so-called dragons were not biological creatures. They were colossal constructs, semi-sentient, designed with advanced technology that surpassed anything humanity had developed. They had been programmed to respond to industrial activity, mining, terraforming, energy extraction, on colonies like Nix 4. Humanity's expansion had triggered their awakening. Kira and her team shared their findings with Leon, who listened intently but remained skeptical. "So you're saying we've been provoking a machine that's bigger and smarter than all of us combined?" she asked. "Not just provoking," Kira replied. "We've been ignoring it, and it doesn't seem to want to destroy everything. It's enforcing a code, maybe protecting ecosystems, maybe something else. We need to figure out what that code is before it decides we've broken it." Tension in the colony was rising. Panic spread among the miners and engineers. Some demanded immediate evacuation. Others wanted to strike preemptively, to test their weapons. Kira argued for caution, explaining how previous encounters had left ships untouched and only disabled. "We need to adapt," she said, "not fight blindly." A fleet maneuver was proposed, using baited mining operations to lure the dragons into a trap. Kira's team helped design the operation, retrofitting old freighters to mimic high-energy industrial activity. It was tense and delicate work. The slightest miscalculation could alert the dragons. The day of the operation arrived. Freighters glided into position while the fleet waited in hidden orbits. Energy readings surged as predicted, but the dragons did not take the bait. Instead, one of the vessels carrying diplomats was targeted. The shields failed and systems went offline. Kira watched in horror as the vessel drifted powerless above the icy plains. "They're not attacking indiscriminately," she muttered. "They're choosing. They're watching. We've underestimated them." The fleet scrambled, but there was nothing they could do. The dragon's pulses disabled engines and weapons without a single strike of fire or explosion. Kira realized that brute force would not win. Understanding and adaptation were the only paths forward. Back at the colony, political tension reached a breaking point. Some leaders blamed Kira for caution, demanding military action. Others insisted on evacuation, fearing complete annihilation. Kira stood her ground, presenting data and observations, but the arguments grew heated. Then it happened. The colony's sensors detected a massive energy surge above the capital city of the largest human settlement on Nix 4. Kira and Leon rushed to the observation deck, hearts pounding. A dragon, colossal and imposing, descended slowly from the sky. Its surface glowed with strange bioluminescent patterns like circuits flowing with living light. Ships in orbit froze instantly, unable to move or respond. The city below trembled under the dragon's presence, yet there was no fire, no destruction. Only power, control, and watchfulness. Kira felt a shiver run down her spine. This was the first real encounter, and it was terrifying in its silence. She realized the truth. The dragons were not mindless attackers. They were intelligent, enforcing rules they had been programmed to protect. Humanity had stumbled into their domain without understanding the consequences. The dragon hovered, immense and patient, illuminating the settlement with a radiant glow. Kira could see patterns on its underside, almost like a map of the colonies and energy sites. It was studying them, calculating, judging. Every pulse of light seemed deliberate, precise, and filled with intent. Humanity had not faced an enemy before. They had faced a force of judgment. Kira turned to Leon and Arun, her mind racing. "We can't fight this," she said. "We can't hide. We have to communicate. We have to learn what it wants before it decides we're a threat it can't tolerate." Leon nodded slowly, the weight of command pressing on her. "Then we prepare. But preparation isn't weapons. It's understanding. You lead the effort, Kira. You'll find a way to speak to them." Kira looked back at the dragon hovering above the city. Its patterns of light shifted as though it were alive, like a language waiting to be understood. She felt a mixture of fear and awe. This was no ordinary battle. Humanity was not facing a war of firepower. They were facing a test of intelligence, patience, and ingenuity. For the first time, Kira understood the true meaning of the beacon's warning. Prepare. It wasn't just a signal to build defenses. It was a signal to change, to think differently, to evolve. Humanity's survival depended not on strength but on wit, courage, and the ability to reach out to something beyond their understanding. The sun dipped low over the icy plains, casting long shadows across the colony. Kira and her team returned to the command center, ready to begin the work that would define the future of human colonies. The dragons were coming, and humanity had only one chance, to prove they could rise to meet the challenge without destroying themselves in the process. And somewhere above, the dragon waited, patient and watchful, its glowing patterns a silent question. "Are you ready?" The dragon above Nix 4 remained silent, a massive shadow of light and power that seemed to watch every movement of the colony below. Major Kira Hale stood at the observation deck, staring up at the enormous figure. The glowing patterns on its surface shifted and pulsed, almost like a living map, a language she could not yet understand. Her heart pounded, but this time it was not fear. It was determination. Humanity had a chance, and she would find a way to reach it. Kira gathered a small team in the command center. Aaron Voss, the xenogeologist, studied the dragon patterns with a mixture of excitement and worry. Commander Leon Okoye was there as well, calm and firm as ever, keeping the team focused. The others included engineers and communication specialists, all experts in their fields. Together they had one goal: to speak to the dragons without provoking them. "The first step," Kira said, pointing to a holographic display of the dragon's glowing patterns. Is understanding its signals. These pulses are not random. They respond to energy and frequency. If we can match their pattern, we might communicate. Aaron nodded. I've been analyzing the beacon in the dragon's energy field. I think I can create a sequence that mimics their pulses. If we broadcast it, the dragon may recognize it as intentional communication. They worked tirelessly. Days and nights blurred together as the team calibrated the stealth hull, now equipped with emitters designed to send precise energy signals. The freighter's hull shimmered with reflective alloys, masking its heat and electromagnetic footprint. The colony watched nervously, hoping this attempt would not provoke the dragon into retaliation. When the hull was ready, Kira led a small crew in the shuttle. They moved cautiously across the ice, using the natural folds of the terrain to hide from the dragon's observation. Every step was tense. One wrong move could trigger an attack. The dragon, hovering above the city, shifted slightly, its glowing pattern scanning the surface. Kira felt a shiver of awe. It was like approaching a creature older than humanity itself, yet intelligent and aware. Ready? Kira asked, glancing at her team. Ready, Aaron said, fingers hovering over the controls that would send the energy pulses. The first signal was sent, a low, patterned pulse matching the sequence Arun had decoded from the beacon. For a moment, nothing happened. The dragon remained still, glowing softly as if considering the message. Then slowly, the light patterns on its hull shifted, forming arcs and waves that seemed to respond directly to the pulses from the shuttle. It's reacting, Aaron whispered. It understands us. The dragon did not move aggressively. Instead, it descended slightly, creating a field that gently drew the shuttle closer. It was a delicate dance, a silent acknowledgement that the humans were being observed and accepted. Kira's pulse quickened. This was the first time humanity had made direct contact with the dragons, and they had done so without firing a single weapon. When the shuttle reached a safe distance beneath the dragon, Kira activated the secondary system. Small drones emerged from the shuttle, designed to capture environmental data and map the dragon's surface. To their amazement, the drones were drawn to specific points on the dragon, hovering as if directed by an unseen intelligence. The team realized that the dragons were not only observing, they were allowing study, teaching humans in their own way. Aaron examined the data as it streamed in. This is incredible, he said. The dragon isn't alive in the biological sense. It's a construct, a living archive of technology and ecosystems. These patterns, they contain instructions, guidance. They were designed to protect planetary balance, not destroy life. Kira nodded. Then the attacks weren't random. They were enforcement. They respond to environmental damage or unregulated industrial activity. If we show that we can follow their rules, they may allow us to survive and continue our colonies. The team realized that negotiation, not force, was the only way forward. Kira proposed a daring plan to establish a direct communication channel with the dragons using the energy patterns as a language. It would require precision, patience, and trust. The shuttle would act as an intermediary, broadcasting messages and observing responses. As they began, the dragon's glow shifted, displaying patterns that were surprisingly complex. Arun interpreted them as fragments of the dragon's directive, instructions left by its creators, an ancient coalition of species long gone. The dragons had been seeded across the galaxy to protect ecosystems and enforce balance. Humanity had triggered their protocols unintentionally by expanding rapidly and exploiting planets. Then we need to show them we can be responsible, Kira said. We need to prove that humans can adapt, learn, and respect the rules they enforce. Meanwhile, back at the colony, tensions remained high. Some leaders still advocated for military action, while others feared complete withdrawal. Kira knew that a single mistake could destroy trust. She and Leon worked to maintain calm, explaining every step of their communication strategy. Slowly, the colony began to understand. Force would not win. Only understanding and cooperation could secure their survival. Then a crisis occurred. A radical faction within the colony attempted to steal a fragment of dragon technology, hoping to weaponize it for human gain. The fragment, however, was highly sensitive and activated its defensive protocols. Energy fields expanded uncontrollably, threatening nearby habitats. Kira and her team had to act fast. Kira piloted the shuttle toward the fragment, while Aaron coordinated with the drones to stabilize its systems. Using the beacon-based energy patterns, they communicated with the fragment directly. The tension was unbearable. If the dragon fragment misinterpreted the human approach, it could destroy the colony in seconds. "Hold steady," Kira murmured, focusing on the interface. The shuttle's systems hummed as pulses flowed between human technology and dragon logic. Slowly, the energy fields contracted and the fragment calmed. Aaron exhaled in relief. The incident demonstrated two things. Humans could adapt and negotiate with the dragons, but hubris or greed could still provoke catastrophe. Kira used the event to argue for strict oversight and cooperation within the colony. Lian agreed, instituting measures to prevent future sabotage and ensuring all factions understood the importance of working with the dragons, not against them. Over the following weeks, the humans and dragons continued their cautious dialogue. The dragon allowed the shuttle and drones to explore its surface and study its systems, offering glimpses of advanced ecological management and technology. The humans learned that the dragons valued balance, not conquest. They rewarded restraint, ingenuity, and ethical decisions. Kira became the human envoy, leading the effort to negotiate terms with the dragons. Together with Aaron and representatives of the colony, she drafted a charter. Humans would limit terraforming in sensitive areas, adopt sustainable mining practices, and allow the dragons to monitor key ecosystems. In return, the dragons would refrain from destructive enforcement, assist in repairing damaged environments, and provide access to certain ancient technologies for non-violent purposes. The day the charter was presented, the dragon hovered above the colony, its glow brighter than ever. It pulsed rhythmically as if acknowledging the agreement. Kira stood on the observation deck feeling a mix of pride and relief. Humanity had faced a challenge far beyond their previous understanding, yet they had survived through ingenuity, patience, and respect for forces greater than themselves. For the first time, the colony felt hope. Ships moved freely again, but now under strict energy management protocols. Mining operations were redesigned to avoid triggering dragon enforcement. The community worked together, united by the understanding that survival depended on collaboration, not conflict. Kira watched the dragon glide across the sky, its patterns flowing like a river of light. It was no longer an enemy, but a teacher and a guardian. She thought back to the beacon's first warning: prepare. Humanity had prepared not by building more weapons, but by learning, adapting, and demonstrating the wisdom to coexist with a force older and wiser than themselves. As the sun rose over the icy plains, Kira felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The dragons were no longer a threat. They were partners in a new future. And humanity, for all its faults and mistakes, had shown that it could rise to meet challenges not with violence, but with courage, intelligence, and empathy. The dragon paused on the horizon, watching over the colony like a silent protector. Kira smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning. Humanity had passed the first test, but the galaxy was vast and other wonders and challenges awaited. Still, if they could meet the dragons with respect and ingenuity, there was nothing they could not face together. For the first time in centuries, the humans of Nix 4 felt truly connected to the universe. They were no longer mere colonists, they were partners with a force far greater than themselves, and they had earned a place among the guardians of life.